So, hey, hello, and welcome back again on Wheels. Well, today we have with us a old car, fairly old, which is around 5 years old, but it was a game changer back then. Even though it was really underrated, if you've ever owned one of those or ever been in one, you'll really know the worth of it. Well, it has a gem of an engine. It has a 2-liter TDI in it, which is mated to a DSG. So that is what we're featuring today. And it is one of the best sedans you will see on the market. And this is it. This is the Skoda Superb.
I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm pissed off at these fucking clowns who were all taught they deserve an ounce. It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm pissed off at these fucking clowns who were all taught they deserve an ounce. It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown.
Moving on to the engine bay. Yeah, you do get hydraulic struts, considering it's a big German. And this is the icing on the cake, the 2-liter TDI. It produces around 175 bhp and a whopping 350 Newton meters of torque. That's been mated to the 6-speed DSG. Yes, it's the DQ 250, which means less niggles and more smiles to the miles. So let's move on. Pretty much it. Now, up front we have the typical Skoda style moustache grill. You get projectors with LEDs in them, and the fogs inside are halogen glow. Moving on to the side profile, you get 17-inch rims, and I somehow prefer these older rims than the newer gen LNK's rims because they look so aftermarket-ish. And you get disc brakes all around, and the overall side profile of the car is as sexy as it could get for a sedan. Like, I totally love this, I know why. And moving on to the rear, again typical Skoda styling, and the big deal breaker, this is the humongous boot of the Skoda Superb. Yes, it's a bit messy, clumsy because we're shooting the video today, but this is how big it actually is. I can literally lie down and I still have space. So you also get an automatic tailgate, which is pretty cool for a car that's sub 40 lakhs. And that is pretty much it. It's simple yet classic. There's nothing much to talk about. There's no ugly angle as such for this car. It's just plain, simple, beautiful sedan. You do get the Lauren and Clement badging on the scuff plate. I don't know why they do that, but then it is there. Now, as we get inside, we have a look at the steering wheel. Yes, you get rate as well as reach controls for this. Yeah, so pretty much it. Now, moving on, you get paddle shifters, controls for the mid to get your volume and audio controls here, and the typical WAG style cruise control lever, and also the typical WAG style headlight switches. And the start stop button is awkwardly placed here where the keyhole is supposed to be. And sadly enough, we don't have a chip, but we have with us the owner of the car. We have Adi, and a big shout out to him for making this happen, and also to his dad and brother who helped throughout the whole process. Moving on to the infotainment system, you get a 20 centimeter touchscreen with navigation, Android Auto, Bluetooth functions, as well as Apple CarPlay, which is mated to a 8-speaker Canton system with a subwoofer, which performs really well. And it also shows you which driving mode you are in when you press this button over here. Pretty simple and neat. There's nothing missing as such, and you get dual zone climate control with knobs. Yes, the knobs haven't disappeared yet. So you get alarm implement badging over here, piano black inserts in the middle as well as on the doors. And moving on to the glove box, you get a decently spaced glove box with cooling function here as well, and you have a very awkwardly placed SD card slot. I know why Skoda has done that. You have this beautiful gear selector here. It says DSG, and it also mentions the LNK variant. And apart from that, you get controls for your parking sensor, and this is your boot release. And you also get a small button for selecting your drive modes. There's basically 3 driving modes, which is sport, comfort and individual, which I'll talk about later. And this is the key of the car, and this is the electronic parking brake, and this is your lock switch for all the doors. Here below the gear selector, you get twin cup holders as well as a huge armrest, which also has quite a bit of storage and also has cooling function, which is pretty cool. So moving on to the roofline, you get a sun visor with a mirror and lights that turn on automatically as you open the shade on both sides. You get it for the passenger as well. Moving on to the center, you get 2 reading lamps, and yes, obviously you do get inside the auto dimming inside rear mirrors, and the good old sunroof. Not a panoramic one, nor is it way too small, and yes, it does open up quite a bit. Totally not bad for a car at this price point. Talking about the comfort of the front seat, it's crazy because the lumbar support is really good and the under-thigh support is like the best I've experienced so far. It is actually better than the E400 to compare it with. And yes, you get fully electric seats, so super slow motion stuff. And yes, you also get memory function for this as well. So apart from all this, it also has ambient lighting on all the doors as well as on the dashboard here, which isn't visible right now because you're in broad daylight, but I will be showing you shots taken in the darker background. Now, getting into the back seat, the door closes with a proper thud, and believe me, this is the place you want to be in a Superb. You feel so much at home. You get oodles of legroom and knee room. Like, just look at it. I can literally stretch my leg fully, and you also get the boss function, which means you can push your seat forward fully as well as you can annoy the guy sitting in front. Now, moving on, you do get sunshades. Yes, these are manual as you just saw. You get soft plastics all around, also not bad. You get two lights placed in the middle, and headrests are pretty decent. You do get a center armrest with twin cup holders. Also, you get access to your boot from here, which is a really cool feature. Now, talking about space, this is definitely a four-seater because there's a huge transmission tunnel here, which means the fifth occupant is not going to be very happy. Although she does get a headrests. The rear AC vents are placed in the middle, and yes, you get a separate temperature zone, which means you're not disturbing anyone. And below that, you have a small ashtray kind of storage space with a 12-volt charging socket. Something that we missed out earlier, which is actually a super cool feature, and it's the umbrella that's been placed in the door pad. And yes, you get it on both the sides for the front doors. And what's even more interesting, it has an actual drain hole, so that even if you place your umbrella wet inside, it's not going to cause any damage to your car or your door pad. First off, as soon as you get into this Skoda Superb, the first thing that delights you and puts a smile on your face is that damn throttle. Drop down 2 gears and she just pulls 175 bhp and 15 Newton meters of torque for you. Baby. And the steering, it is typical German. There's nothing to complain about. It gives you all the feel and feedback that you really want from a bad car. And within seconds, and by time you know, you've been doing illegal speeds. Just as we speak about acceleration, the braking in this thing is equally, or I should say way better than the acceleration. Now, the steering, the fully electric steering is seriously a joy. Like, especially after driving Marutis and Mahindras, this thing is such a joy. You literally feel connected to the road. It's a totally different experience altogether. It's this big beast, and let's see how it goes. And damn, 0 to 100 times are crazy. Like, for a D-segment sedan, these are just mind-blowing. Just look at it. Look at the smile on my face. Bro, this is seriously something out of this world, especially owning a Maruti. This is totally worlds apart, and I'm really loving this thing. There's ample power delivery throughout the power band. Right after 1500 RPM, she pulls like crazy. And yeah, till 1500 RPM, there's a bit of turbo lag, but then you would never really bother, considering the sheer size of the car and all the performance she offers. And thanks to good brakes, we didn't go crash into the. You're going to be using the Skoda Superb as a highway mile muncher. Believe me, this is one of the best you got in town. So here we are, and this is going to be a short spin within the city to show you how big this car really is and if it really matters. In bumper to bumper traffic, the auto hold feature comes in real handy, so you really don't have to keep your legs pressed on the brake, as nor do you have to put it into park every time, considering Chennai's horrible traffic conditions.
Maneuvering it inside the city isn't as tough as I expected it to be.
But then things might get difficult if you're on smaller roads Well, coming to the conclusion, who should buy one? And considering that the TDI is no more in production, should you buy a TDI in the used market? If it was me, and if I had the budget of 15 to 20 lakhs, I definitely would. Because the TDIs paired to the DSGs are way more reliable and economical than the 1.8 TSIs with the notorious DQ200, whereas the DQ250 is way more reliable and is something you must look forward to. Also, speaking of that, this car, this particular example we're driving today, has clocked around 1,22,000 kilometers right now, which is a lot considering it's only 5 years old, and that shows how reliable the TDI DSG combo is. So if you have the money and if you're in search for a fun to drive, powerful as well as comfortable sedan in the used market, this is for you. So thanks for watching and stay tuned for more updates. Ciao.